Hello all and welcome back to the Burning Crusade. Today we are going to be exploring the zone of Zangarmarsh in the Outland, which should cover you from about level 62 to 64-ish, and talking about the prominent reputation faction here in Zangarmarsh, the Cenarian Expedition. So you do arrive here excuse me, after completing your time in the Hellfire Peninsula, and right away you are exposed to the Cenarian Expedition. 90% of your quests for this faction will come from this area right here, the Cenarian Refuge, and your dungeon quests will come from here, and this will basically set up just about the entire zone for you. Now, when you get here right away, there is a little bit of pre-quest required before you can actually get the dungeon quests for this area. The dungeons, which I'm not going to fly over to because I'm too lazy, are over here in the Coilfang Reservoir. Basically, there's a giant lake kind of like this, and there's a big glowing steam pump in the middle of it. If you fly or swim to the middle and then swim down inside the tunnel, it'll bring you up to this little underwater cave, which you will find 4 instance portals. The one on the left is slave pens, and the one on the far right is the underbog. These two are the lower level dungeons that will only reward reputation through Honored. Honored, as you remember from my last video, is the required reputation. You need to purchase the key which unlocks the heroic difficulty for all the dungeons in this zone. So once again, same with Hellfire Peninsula, you do want to make sure that you get those dungeon quests as soon as possible, and then do the dungeons as soon as possible before you get too deep into the quest line here over from the Cenarian Refuge, just so that you're gaining the maximum amount of reputation that you possibly can. Now, the other 2 instance portals in the what's that called again? In the Coilfang Reservoir are the Steam Vaults, which is another top tier normal dungeon, which you can access at level 68, and it is one of the dungeons that you farm at level 70 for your pre-heroic and pre-raid gear. And the other instance, of course, is Serpent Shrine Cavern, which is a tier 5 raid, and you don't need to worry about that right now. So, just a basic overview of the quest. These are druids here that are kind of concerned about the wildlife and the nature of this area, and they are especially concerned with the way the Naga are draining the swamp's resources for reasons that are unknown to the druids. So basically all of your quests center around exploring the area and fighting the Naga. There are 2 quests to kill elite mobs, which are the leaders of sub-factions of the Naga. They're kind of like tribes. I think it's 2 or 3 player suggested group sizes for the group quests. They're not that hard. Usually I solo them on my characters. I try to solo just about everything that I can, just because I'm not really a people person. But yeah, as you can see over here, just for fun, this is, or was, a lake that the Naga did drain of almost all of its water. They missed a little bit right here. Out of curiosity, in case you were wondering, this is one of the ideal locations for farming motes of life if you are not an herbalist. If you're not an herbalist and you need motes of life, this is one of the areas where you go and get it. These bog giants do drop select or few amounts of little amounts of motes of life. It's not it's not a very good drop rate, so I would recommend leveling herbalism if you really want motes of life. But yeah, not everybody has that many alts. So yep, there you go. There is another reputation faction here in Zangarmarsh called Sporagar, which I'll go over in just a minute. The rewards for Sporagar are really insignificant. There's some decent gear that you can get, but really I wouldn't spend any time whatsoever trying to grind out reputation with Sporagar, just because A, this is Burning Crusade and there are no achievements, so it really doesn't make a difference if you grind out Exalted or if you stay at neutral with Sporagar. And the rewards aren't substantial enough for you to spend just that absurd amount of time grinding out that reputation. So, let's take a look here at the rewards for the Cenarian Expedition. Again, just like with Honorhold and Thrallmar, these first two levels of standing, all the gear is really for lower level, just basically leveling gear. And then there are some patterns and plans for professions, which if you do have professions, make sure you keep that in mind. I'm not going to be going over professions really in depth at all in these videos, but if you do have a profession, it is important to keep that in mind and keep up with it as you level. Now, at Revered, the head enchant for this faction is the Glyph of Ferocity, which is the physical DPS head enchant. So warriors, rogues, feral druids, not tanks, feral DPS, cat DPS, hunters, enhancement shamans. This is your head enchant right here that you will be using for endgame. So it is important for you guys to make sure you get Revered. It's really not that hard to get Revered with the Cenarian Expedition. There are a lot of quests to do here in Zangarmarsh. After you finish Cenarian Refuge, you can go over here to this side of the map where there is a small camp with some quests that you can do, and there are also more quests in the next zone, the Terrakar Forest, but we will cover that in the next video. Back to the rewards. You know, just a couple of decent things. A tank neck, healer head. So yeah, always keep these in mind as you're leveling. These aren't things that you that are really worth grinding out that reputation, but if you do have the reputation and you happen to accidentally grind it, then these can really help you out when you're gearing at level 70 and getting ready for heroics and raids. Now, at Exalted, really the thing that the reward that you really want to take note of is the Earth Warden, which is the best feral tank weapon before you get to Serpentshrine Cavern. Like, there are no better tanking weapons until the weapon that drops from Serpentshrine Cavern. Actually trash in that raid. 27 defense, good stamina, good armor. Expertise is fantastic because it helps you to it reduces your chance to miss attacks and reduces enemies' dodge chance, I believe, or maybe armor. I'm not exactly sure, but it helps you maintain threat and also increases your attack power. Very fantastic mace. Like, you want to make sure that when you hit level 70 as a feral tank that you are exalted, if at all possible. Other than that, just some more recipes. And there is a hippogriff mount that is available for purchase at Exalted. It is a fast mount. a 280% flying speed mount that you can buy once you gain Exalted. Now, just like in Hellfire Peninsula, there are a few faction-specific zones: the Orbar Harborage for the Alliance, Zobrajin, and the Swamp Rat Post for the Horde. Once again, these offer no significant reputation rewards as far as Outland reputation factions, like earning reputation at either of these three areas will not affect you in any way. So just like with these two areas over here in Hellfire Peninsula, you don't want to spend too much time over there. Like if you get to 63 level, or like 63, 64, you want to really get out of Zangarmarsh, not spend an abundance amount of time here. You want to get your reputation and get out. Now, just like healers in Hellfire Peninsula, if you are one of the classes that needs a revered reputation, then obviously stay in here a little longer. But other than that, you can move on once you hit about level 64. These quests do a decent job at doing that, and also really just grinding, killing mobs here in Zangarmarsh does offer some opportunities for increasing your reputation with something you probably saw earlier when I killed that Boglord drop. It's the unidentified plant parts. Those drop from all the mobs in Zangarmarsh, and you can turn those in for reputation to the Cenarian Refuge. So yep, once again, with the dungeons and with all the quests, you should have no problem getting from 62 to 64 and moving on to Terrakar Forest, which I will cover in my next video. Thank you very much for watching. Please feel free to like and subscribe and thumbs up and do all those fun things. Voice your opinion. I always love having nobody ever comment or like my videos, so please feel free to click those buttons. Have a nice day, and I will see you all next time in Terrakar Forest.